Aight, aight. What's really going on? Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. Today, going to be taking a look at XRP, Ripple. Going to be assessing some of these key technical aspects of price action moving forward. Going to be looking at some of these pivotal areas of support and resistance I believe we're going to be interacting with in the very near future here. Let me know in the comments down below. Are you bullish? Are you bearish on XRP's price action moving forward? Are you, holding through all this crazy sideways and accumulation from this, break downward from, the like multi-dollar to almost $2 level? We're now, near a dollar again. Do you think we're bullish enough to, get back up above a dollar to see that, like, $2, $3, $5 XRP in the coming future here? Or, are you bearish on price action? You think we're going to fall to kind of significant support around kind of like 80 cents, and we're going to fall into kind of like lower levels that we've been trapped in not too long ago? Now, jumping right into it, to kind of recap price action that has been kind of interacting sort of above and below this sort of like pink zone of slapping, shoving, kicking, and punching. We have this kind of like zone of resistance, which is now support, I believe, above 72 cents and under 79 cents. It's going to be like a little kind of range that price action got rejected from a couple times back at the end of November, and then again in the beginning of February of this year. Until finally, just the beginning of April, we broke through that resistance, setting some highs all the way up there at almost $2. We then started interacting with these kind of three kind of levels here. I do have kind of a zone around like $1.11, $1.43, and $1.90. Those are kind of key areas that we kind of interacted with as we consolidated downward, printing some kind of like lower highs. We printed a symmetrical triangle-esque type pattern, which we ended up momentum changed very abruptly for all of crypto. We ended up breaking downward, even though we were looking very bullish. Now this break downward, in my opinion, I do believe is going to correlate nicely between these kind of two ranges like it has been so far. I suspect further bearish price action, in my opinion, toward that 78 cent support line, in my opinion, as I believe this break downward accumulation phase is going to be a continuation downward, in my opinion. I keep saying, I suspect kind of like more bearish consolidation. I do believe we are bullish in the long term for XRP. I do suspect that we'll interact with the kind of like the upper dollar, multi-dollar level again before we can consider a reversal and a bear trend starting. I do suspect the, like I said, the long-term trend to be still bullish, in my opinion, although this zone kind of like above 79 cents and under $1.06, I believe, is going to be the range that we're going to bounce kind of like up and down between moving forward as we try to establish support here. I believe price action ultimately above 65 cents, it seems, can still be long-term bullish, in my opinion. But like I keep saying, I do believe we can be rather perhaps short to mid-term, sort of like bearish or sideways, as we need to come down and solidify some more support. When we consider EngineeringRobo, along with the Fibba Zucchini lines of Illuminati and geometry, we can see a new perspective come into play when we consider the sell 4 present on the USDT chart. We have price action touching that 200 daily moving average. We came all the way down to it and wicked off of it. I do believe that to be very bullish long term, in my opinion. We had this rejection off of the FOMO zone kind of back at the middle of April of 2021, just before a sell 4 and a hell came into play during this kind of like sideways. We had the buy 4 return, but the hell was present, suggesting some more bearish pressure was still like with us. And so this break downward was not too surprising. We have price action interacting with the 0.5 line, and the 0.382 line is going to be kind of supporting that kind of range I was suggesting of kind of like just under $1.03 and above 81 cents. I believe is going to be a the zone that we're going to be back and forth in. A more bullish support line will be that 0.382 at 82 cents, in my opinion. But like I said, I do suspect that we can come down to that, like the 70-cent kind of level, and interact with that before we find our way into the multi-dollar kind of range. Now, the fear and greed index is typically used for kind of like mid to like longer term traders that like hold rather than trade the kind of market. So say you were accumulating back at these kind of like lower levels here, say at like 25 cents, you were accumulating at the end of January of this year, and then you sold to our first interaction with the FOMO zone, you would have made 600%, 591% in 76 days. So that is more of a sort of like midterm hold kind of thing, accumulation to sell off rather than entry and exit based trading, support and resistance type strategies. Like I said, the fear and FOMO zone is more for holders rather than traders. The FOMO zone can be used while trading when you consider the sell pressure present above this kind of range, up anywhere up in that FOMO zone there. FOMO is present. So price action upon entering that zone can become very volatile in both directions. Upon entering the FOMO zone, we typically will just see a rejection and price action will come right back out. Although if the coin is bullish enough and the fundamentals are bullish enough, then we could very well stay in the FOMO zone for a prolonged phase of time and see some very volatile, ups and downs kind of thing, as FOMO is present. So tops are bought, bottoms are bought, and the rally continues. Watch out before jumping into a project that's up in the FOMO zone. You can expect some very volatile bearish sell pressure, unless the fundamentals are overly abundant in a more bullish manner. The sell pressure above the FOMO zone is is a good area to suspect some rejections and like I said, sell pressure. I do suspect that we're going to come up back to that FOMO zone again, and I would like to see an interaction with that FOMO zone a second time before we can consider a bear trend starting. So at the moment, we are still looking quite long-term bullish, even though we have the hell and sell for present. When we consider XRP against the price of Bitcoin, we can see a new perspective come into play when we consider these kind of two zones I believe we're going to be bouncing back and forth in. We have this kind of 2269 Satoshi and 2891 Satoshi seems to be the range that I believe we're going to make our way between as Bitcoin figures out where it wants to go, where it's going to find support, as there's lots of fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the market. As Bitcoin is coming out of like a 50% correction kind of thing, so there's lots of volatility at these levels. Everything in crypto right now is kind of at a bit of a volatile kind of state. I do suspect price action to remain perhaps midterm sort of like sideways, perhaps short-term bearish against the price of Bitcoin as we do consolidate towards some lower levels. If we consider EngineeringRobo along with the Fibba Illuminati levels, we can see the sell for and hell present, suggesting price action to be rather bearish against the price of Bitcoin for a period of time, although we are still above that 200 daily moving average against price of Bitcoin, so that still is bullish long term. And so we do have some bullish and bearish suggestions coming into play here, which is what's causing this sideways, prices going up just as much as they go down, causing sideways price action. I believe, like I keep saying, in the long term, so over the course of perhaps some coming months, we can very much see some higher highs. We can very much expect to interact with these kind of upper levels again, I do believe, in my opinion. Although based on these current sell suggestions and how price action is unfolding and the kind of current conditions of the market, I do believe some continued sideways is necessary before the uptrend can continue. There's lots going on with XRP at the moment. There's lots going on in crypto, lots of volatility. Are you bullish? Are you bearish? So far, I'm quite sideways, even though we do seem to be recovering quite nicely from some of these bounces. Although price action, I do believe, has a tendency to break downward when in these kind of states, and so some lower levels, some more buying opportunities might present themselves in the very near future here. If we consider Bitcoin against USDT, we can see a new perspective come into play when we consider how this sell-off is unfolding. We can see price action bouncing off of that 0.5 line, the 0.5 line at 34,300. That's going to be some nice local support that we're going to interact with. We are now seem to be coming up to interact with resistance found kind of above like 38K and just under 40K before we can interact with that significant resistance at 41.5 and that 200 daily moving average. I mean, this pump could very well wick us up to that 200 daily MA, but I suspect personally we're going to set some lower highs below 40K in my opinion, and then get broken downward toward that 34K level. We have more significant support found around 31K, 32K rather. I believe price action, it's not impossible to see those levels before we interact with that 0.618 line. A rejection off of that 0.618 line, perhaps we see another rejection off of that 200 daily moving average. We could very well plow through that 0.5 line. Although, like I said, that is going to be a more short-term bullish target that if we do hold, that we could very well expect the trend to continue sooner than later. A lot of resistance up ahead. There's lots of range in this price action here. There's tons of new levels that Bitcoin can now trade in moving forward. So I believe this is very bullish for it long term. We have price action below that 200 daily moving average, a technical bearish suggestion. There's going to be plenty of sell pressure off of that 0.618 resistance at 41K, and that 200 daily moving average, I believe, is going to have very high sell pressure. And there's going to be lots of traders selling off of that, off of interaction with that line. we're going to need, I believe, some like prolonged sideways beyond what we've kind of currently been experiencing. We're just coming out of like 2 weeks of sideways upon falling below that 200 daily moving average. I believe perhaps 2 more weeks to a month is necessary before we can find our way above and interact with significant resistance at like 48K. Then we have the 0.786 line at 51K. We have the dreaded resistance at 57K that broke us downward. But if you were following the channel, you were following my analyses, you would have seen that I've been suggesting this break downward upon our first bounce at 49K. I suspected 57K was going to be, very strong resistance, even though we had the super buy and buy for. I was quite bullish, and I thought we could, make our way upward, interact with some all-time highs. But I've, I go with the flow of the market, and I go with what the chart is telling me. And from a technical perspective, we technically, even though we were bullish long term, in the short term, we could have very well have broken down. And so from 60K to 30K, I believe is a healthy pullback in a multi 100% parabolic year that crypto has had. This 50% pullback, I believe, is very healthy for the trend long term and is much needed. What goes up does come down, and the levels that we are returning to are very bullish in my opinion. Thank you for hearing my analysis. Thank you for tuning in. Let me know in the comments down below. Are you bullish? Are you bearish on price action? Do you trade? Do you hold? Or do you let the price action unfold? Let me know what you're doing with your bag. If you have one, do you have XRP? Do you have Bitcoin? Are you trading during all this crazy volatile sideways, making some scalps in the market here, some swing trades? Or are you diamond hands through all this crazy sideways, accumulating during the low, waiting for our all-time highs again? Your perspective moving forward. And tune in for the next one.